This is the CNC Geekcast, the podcast where two guys with speech impediments talk about movies. I'm Joseph Collins.
And I'm Paul Combs.
On today's episode, we'll be talking about a Western, one of Paul's favorite movie genres, and that movie is 310 to Yuma. We're going to be talking about the characters, the plot, why we love it so much, and much more, so stay tuned!
I have always been drawn to the Western genre. I always love the simplicity of the plots. That's a staple of the Westerns. Or even the neo-Westerns, like Hell or High Water, like Logan, like No Country for Old Men. You have the clear-cut good guy and you have the clear-cut bad guy. I also love the idea of Westerns that these people know the world is changing, it's going to be changing soon, and there's nothing they can do about it. In this movie and in many other Westerns, they use the train coming as a symbol for that, as a metaphor. But it also applies to a lot of other things, like even Logan with the death of all the other mutants.
What I like about the Westerns is how it does a great job of setting up for character interaction, like a strong character-driven stories. If you think about Westerns in general, like for example, you think about Logan, like we said, and Hell Over High Waters. It's like you said, but it's a really strong character-driven movie because you do have that situation where these individuals are out there in the middle of the rest of nowhere. And there is kind of a sense of, it's really appealing because you have a sense of freedom, I guess. Because you're out there, you're living off the land, you're doing your own thing, though you do have laws away from the big cities that, yes, you're still expected to follow the laws, but they're kind of,
It's a lot harder to enforce them.
Exactly. And that produces a lot of freedom. That's where you get the idea of the Lone Ranger and men who are loners. And
even all the larger-than-life characters, John Wayne of old, Clint Eastwood in The Good, the Bad, and Ugly, Charles Bronson in Once Upon a Time in the West.
Yeah.
You have all these larger-than-life characters that generally, there's this archetype, this cowboy, this super masculine man who does his own thing, who abides by the laws, but may enter into the gray zone sometimes.
Yeah, lives off the land. And because it's the West, hence the word the Wild Wild West type of idea, the other thing I liked about it was how disputes were settled in the main streets of a town in like a shootout and a high noon type of thing. And sheriffs a lot of times are like, okay, fine, go settle this thing, and you deal with it, but don't infringe upon the townsmen. The minute you start threatening these people, I'm going to be coming in and breaking it up. So you do have this idea of like more independence, I guess, in that sense.
But the isolation also lends itself to some very good stories and some very interesting situations that wouldn't make sense in a more populated place. Like, for example, in this movie centers around Christian Bale and Russell Crowe. Russell Crowe is this outlaw on par with Jesse James, on par with Billy the Kid, even like maybe Al Pacino, not
Al Pacino.
Al Capone.
Al Capone, that was 1920s.
But what I was just saying, it
yeah.
embodies that idea of the outlaw. He gets captured in this small town, and just frankly, this small town is not equipped to handle a bad guy of his caliber.
Well, that's another thing I like about the Westerns. Is like when you look back at the famous movie, the Magnificent Seven, that idea was that this town was threatened by a gang. And this town was like, we don't have officials over here. We can't get them in time. And they started hiring all these gunmen. And so you had to go through, non-official, military sources in order to defend the town. Well, the same thing happened here. Well, the sheriff was like, this guy's very dangerous. We need men to help. We don't have it, so we're going to get private contracts. Unofficial, of course, and we'll pay you guys to come help us. And it's going to be dangerous, but we'll pay you a lot of money because that money offsets the risks of the journey that's ahead.
And of course, they're trying to get to Yuma to hit the 310 train, of course.
Exactly, which, of course, creates the plot. And that's really the plot of the film. So, but the movie starts basically with Christian Bale's character. And it goes back to what you're talking about, basically like, people losing their way of life. And this movie does a very good job of starting that up and setting the tone on that.
Well, it does, because the movie opens with something seemingly unrelated. Christian Bale is this farmer who's frankly not very good at it.
Yeah, or maybe it was just hard times. A drought was coming, and it happened, just unforeseen conditions.
Yeah, but either way, he was not prepared. And he owes the bank a lot of money that he may or may not be able to pay. So the bank hires some other probably not nice people to burn his barn down in an effort to force him out. Because the bank wants his property to send they can sell it to send the railroad through.
Yeah. And then we saw this, and we also saw this theme echoing in Hell Over High Water.
Yeah, Yep, exactly.
Which is a classic Western trope.
Yeah, it's definitely the Western thing. Like, that's the only thing that diversifies these modern Westerns like Hell or High Water from the movies like this. Is instead of horses and wagons and all that, you have cars.
Yeah,
and it's set in a modern day.
Yeah. And of course, I really do like films, and we talk about this when it comes to Snatch. I like films that you have two character arcs that start on different, parallel to one another, but they converge eventually in the movie, and I like that. And when you come to this movie, Christian Bale's character, was like I said, bad on his, really down on his luck, and not really have good fortunes. And his son doesn't think of him very highly. Has really a lot of disrespect for him because it's like, you're supposed to support us. You're supposed to be supposed to do this, and you're not. You're
supposed to be the masculine archetype of the westerns, like John Wayne and like Clint Eastwood. Because that's what we think of when we think of these old people. We don't think of people like Christian Bale at the beginning of this movie. We think of people like Christian Bale at the end of this movie.
Or Russell Crowe, for example. Russell Crowe is far more, of that archetype. He's an outlaw, and he does things his own way, and he doesn't care. And a lot of women are drawn to those qualities, or at least, quote unquote, drawn to those qualities. The bad boy,
But he's also as charming as heck.
He is charming as heck, and that's also something that is drawn, that anybody would be drawn to. And that's really the thing. It's like Christian Bale is not this person. He's noble and he tries his best, but even his wife is like, I love you, but this is really difficult even for all of us. So I do like that arc that Christian Bale has. In this movie, of course, Russell Crowe is a bank robber. He does all this, and he gets captured. Right? Mm-hmm. And so when Christian Bale goes into town, he doesn't really have that money, and that's where the officials start handing out these quote-unquote contract, or at least a job offer. And he's like, Christian Bale's like, I need the money. I'll take you up on this offer. And he says that we need a place to, the officials say we need a place to keep this guy for the night. And of course, Christian Bale offers his home, and that's where you have an interesting dynamic between Russell Crowe and Russell Crowe's wife. He's at the dinner table, Russell Crowe, and he's talking, and for some reason, something about Christian Bale, Russell Crowe's drawn to. It's like, I don't know what it...
I think it's his nobility. He wants to corrupt him. He sees this guy who's down on his luck. Thus, he probably sees him as an easy target to corrupt and maybe make him abandon his post while Russell Crowe can get away, escape into the night. Yeah. I did think that was a really clever plan they had in this movie, though, the way they went to Christian Bale's ranch and they pulled the switcheroo with the wagon and everything.
Yeah, because at this point, Russell Crowe had a gang, and who was led by Ben Foster.
Ben Foster is just one of those actors that I ain't going to say he gets enough credit, because he does get a lot of credit. I see a lot of articles talking about how underrated Ben Foster is, but I still love Ben Foster. He was great in Hell or High Water. Mm-hmm. He was great in this. Actually, in this movie, the interesting thing about him, too, I want to cosplay his character, because that nice white jacket he has, I want it.
I know. Well, you think they're drawn to white. Krennic had a white costume.
Yeah.
Something about white just drawn to, like, on I don't know what it is, Paul.
I'm brown. I guess the white white would just stand out on my skin.
Oh, absolutely. But, I did like how they did the show switcheroo, and Ben Foster's character led the game to get him out. And I did like, his character was so much loyalty he showed to Russell Crowe. Mm-hmm. It was really fun, and this of course comes back throughout the time through the film and at the climax of the film. The thing you see at the dinner table, and the thing that I found interesting is when Russell Crowe was trying to, I won't say seduce his
he was intentionally flirting with Christian
Bale's wife.
Yeah, he was intentionally flirting with Christian Bale's wife just because he kind of knew it would get under his skin.
Now you could tell, but you could also tell that the wife was kind of like he was fighting it back.
Yeah,
and I did appreciate that.
You could take some lessons from Russell Crowe, Joseph.
Oh, Paul, why do you do this to me?
Out of love. It's out of love.
Out of love. Yeah.
It's out of love.
It's out of love. Getting back to it, I do like that the way that actors are able to convey those type of emotions and just through the facial, because you can see in her facial reactions that she was kind of like, oh, this is very charming, I appreciate, or drawn to the charm of Russell Crowe, but at the same time fighting it back. And I do like how actors are able to convey that, all of that just with the facial.
So you do like how actors are able to act? Is that what you're saying?
I like the ability how some actors are able to do that. Yes, because some people, you know that.
Some are better than others. You're right.
Yes.
And that is one of the things that made this movie. Christian Bale and Russell Crowe work surprisingly well together.
They have good chemistry.
Like, they really do. These are both world-class actors. Like, Russell Crowe, of course, has all his Academy Award nominations, as does Christian Bale. And they both worked incredibly well in this film.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a dynamic between, like we said, it's funny because this film came out in 2007, and that was the year before The Dark Knight came out. And in The Dark Knight, the Joker was trying to corrupt Batman. It kind of has the same plot arc, but Russell Crowe was not as chaotic as the Joker was.
He was definitely not chaotic at all. He was completely organized. He knew his next step. And he was always thinking 2 or 3 steps ahead of everybody else. Because you see that on the trail as they're making their way to Yuma. Yeah. He's picking them all off one by one.
Well, that's just true. He did get to the point where he was killing. When they started going, he was killing them one by one. And I mean, what did you think of the entire adventure when they actually got going?
It was just a little bit generic because it was just way too many easy plot beats. Like, okay, I know this character's going to die. Then wait, this character's about to die in a minute, and then it's going to get down to Christian Bale. His son's going to appear. Actually, I knew that one even before that happened. Yeah, and it's going to be Christian Bale and his son to take him into the city.
But now this film is rated R, and it does have some graphic. And the one thing that I don't say appreciate, but I guess it is appreciate, is how Russell Crowe does pick off the guys one-on-one. Because you had this deputy who's not a very nice guy himself, and he was like taunting Russell Crowe's character. Yeah. And when at the campfire, he was singing a song purposely to annoy Russell Crowe. So Russell Crowe kills him, but the thing I like is he targeted the very thing that the weapon that he was trying to use to annoy Russell Crowe. He took a knife and he just started stabbing the guy in the throat. And I'm like, that's very violent.
Well, it felt like he was channeling a bit of Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal Lecter. Yeah. Like with a really intelligent, really charming villain who a part of you, even against your better judgment, can't help but be drawn to.
Now that's the danger and that's the thing I like about that villain's archetype. Is like you can have those villains that twirl their mustache and are very obvious, mad scientists, I'm going to take over the world type of characters. But the ones that have that intelligence behind them, the one that are plotting, and the one that is intellectual, who play that chess game kind of thing, and who knows those Shakespeare's and who knows their history, I'm drawn to those things because they're far more complicated, and a lot of times, because of that, they can make a good argument for villainy sometimes.
And I did always like kind of the hint under the surface, like dealing with the inequality, because it was obvious Russell Crowe kind of looked at himself more as a Robin Hood. Stealing from the rich. He was very generous with giving to the prostitutes and giving to the bartenders and everything. Yeah. So he styled himself more as a Robin Hood because he talks about that at some point. He compares his actions to those of the Pinkerton, the hired security. The hired security, he's talking to him at one point, and then he throws back what the hired security did about massacring all those people. Yeah, I did like that, the way it kind of blurred the lines and kind of add a little bit more of that dynamic, use that to build a little bit more character. And when he killed the Pinkerton, it did give one of the best lines in the movie.
Yes, because the Pinkerton at that point was making fun of his mom. Yeah. And pretty much called Russell Crowe's mom, what, a hoe, was it?
A hoe.
Yeah, basically said that. And basically, what was the line that Russell Crowe said after he killed him? Before he killed him.
Even a bad man loves his mama.
Yeah, that's a very good line because it just goes to show the love and the kindness that a mom can have with a child. And I love that. Even if the guy turned out to be bad, it's like, yeah, well, I still appreciate what my mom did for me. You know?
I mean, look at me. I feel that way.
So, but no, and also there's another character in this film which was from Firefly, the Doctor.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Alan Tudyk.
Yeah, exactly. He was in this film too as a doctor. What do you think about his performance?
I always like him in most movies. He always kind of plays the same performance. Okay. Like in live action, he always kind of the smart aleck who's really good, who's good at his job. Yeah. Like in this movie, he was a doctor. He was a vet.
Oh, it's a vet.
Yes,
okay.
No. Yes. Yeah. Because at the first of the movie, you see them take the Pinkerton who's been shot in there, and he lays on the table, and he's like, the Pinkerton's like, really? They're like, this is the only doctor in town. Because it goes back to that isolation you're talking about. They have to make do with what they have.
Yeah, absolutely. But
I mean, Alan Tudyk really didn't have much to do in the movie.
No, he didn't. But the thing I like about this film is, like you said, they did start picking these characters off one by one, and a lot of these characters didn't really deserve to die. Some of them, well, I don't want to say they deserved to die, but a lot of them are like, okay, they got, like the deputy, he wasn't a really nice guy, so, I mean, you could tell that he was just a pain, even to Christian Bale's character, he was a pain, so I won't say he deserved to die, but he's like, okay, you kind of deserve that type of...
I don't know, I think that in movies, if a character annoys me, I'm like, go ahead and kill them off.
Still, but the doctor didn't deserve that. But,
no, but it had to do that to establish stakes. Because at that point, after the doctor dies, it's just Russell Crowe, Christian Bale, his son, and the banker.
The banker. Now, what did you think about that the scene where they were in like when the gang caught up with them at the railroad, the mine, scene where they were like trying to get away from the gang?
I don't know. It really didn't add much. I mean, they had to have that scene to kill off the doctor or kill off the vet, I should say.
Yeah.
But other than that, it wasn't really memorable. The only thing it made me think of was the fact that America's infrastructure and kind of the infrastructure of the whole world is built on the bodies of this disposable workforce.
Yeah.
Like in this movie, they kind of make a reference to that about it being the Asian Americans.
Yeah.
Who are the ones that put their lives on line to build our railroads. Yeah. One of the villains makes some offhand comment about, I think he uses the derogatory term chinks.
Yeah.
But other than that, that was about the only thing that it made me think of.
Okay.
I think it was trying to show the cost of the westward expansion.
Yeah.
The human cost of the westward expansion.
Well, infrastructure is always going to be... The people who have died... And people died when they put the Empire State Building.
Yeah, because they would pay them $1 a day, and they did not give any care at all about safety restrictions.
Yeah, so I mean, infrastructure was definitely a difficult thing to do because when you build something so high and so tall, it's like ugh. Now, of course, we have all these great scenes and you have all these great performances, but what was your thoughts on Christian Bale's arc in general?
Well, I did like Christian Bale's arc because this is a Western. Mm-hmm. You have to have that Western hero, that one who will do whatever it takes, will stand for what's right, all that. And that's kind of the character Christian Bale became. Yeah. And you could see the fact that Christian Bale probably knew he was going to die on this mission. He knew he was going to die to get there. But he had never seen himself as a hero. Yeah. He had fought in the Civil War, but he only got injured while they were retreating. Other than that, he had no combat experience, not really much. So even he saw himself as this non-heroic person.
Yeah, and also, I mean, the circumstances that he was in and the fact that he was trying to support his family and he was struggling so much with it, he just got defeated emotionally. Yeah. I mean, you could tell, and for some reason, like we said, Russell Crowe really something about his character, Russell Crowe was really drawn to this entire time. Mm. And like you said, and this is the thing I appreciate about this film, is like you said, you had these characters who are like these strong Clint Eastwood, John Wayne characters, but with Christian Bale, no, his character arc started as he's not a hero, and he's not seen as the hero by his son, and his, like we said, his wife was still like,
and even he doesn't see himself as the hero because he talks about that at the end with Russell Crowe. He's like, the only reason I even have to get the disability check is because of running away while retreating. I've never done anything. I am this nobody. So he thinks he knows by getting Russell Crowe where he's going, he's going to be able to set his family up for life. Mm-hmm. Because he worked that deal out with the banker in the hotel, and he's going to be standing on the side of what's right. Like,
yeah, that's true. Because,
like, hey, I did this thing. I am somebody.
Yeah, because the banker did come along, and that, of course, the reason why the banker was along from the story standpoint was to get that deal with Christian, but from a story. When the screenplay was being written and when everything was playing out, the banker had to be along the way, so that deal was made. Because at the climax of the film, they got to a town where him and the banker was the only one left, and his son too, and so they were almost to Yuma, but the gang caught up with him. And basically,
they weren't almost in Yuma. They were almost at the train station.
In Yuma,
to get to Yuma.
Yeah, they were at the train station to get to Yuma. Basically, the banker was like, "Okay, look, I'm done. I'm about to go. You are free from your obligation. You don't have to do this." And Christian Bale was like, "No, I'm going to finish this, but I'm going to make a deal with you. And I do this for you. You do this for me. You set my family up for life."
Because partly the banker, it was more than law too. It was personal. Mm-hmm. Because when Russell Crowe was doing all these deals, this banker was personally affected. Like they kept on robbing his bank.
Yeah. He was personally targeted. He had a personal incentive to see this guy go to jail.
Yeah, he wanted to see him hang.
Yeah,
because he did say that. Yeah. He's like, going to be standing there watching when you hang.
Now let's get to the thing that I did not like about this film, and that is the climax. The climax was fun. Seeing Christian Bale and Russell Crowe get to the train, that was fun. But the thing I didn't like about it is how Russell Crowe agreed to it. And the thing I didn't like about it was that you completely just sucked out all the challenge at that point.
Well, it worked for me when he was attacking all the nameless town people. That did work for me. Just because Russell Crowe saw what Christian Bale was going through, he did feel for the common man, Russell Crowe did, because he made a few comments earlier in the film about how the bankers were stealing from the ones stealing from the poor people.
Yeah.
So it was obvious he cared for their plight. I think it worked for his character arc.
Yeah, but like I said, at the same time, it's like I would have liked him to be able to accomplish the mission, even though that the gangs were surrounded. And I understand, it's more realistic that way, but the gang was surrounding them, and they pretty much had everything blocked off. But to see Christian Bale get Russell Crowe to the train under those odds, I thought would have been more exciting.
It would have been more cinematic, but it also would have been more impossible.
It is impossible.
Because you saw the marshal. Because when they got to this town, I can't remember the name of the town they were in. They had got the help of some marshals, like some local marshals, because the marshals are willing to help fight Russell Crowe's gang. Okay, we'll take him down. It's almost a fair fight. There's like a couple more, but then Ben Foster's character makes a deal. Like anybody in the town that kills one of these guys can have $400, which was
a lot of money.
Which was a ton of money. So you see the whole town bring out their personal weapons.
And the marshals like, we didn't sign up for this, and they were leaving. And for me, it's like, I don't know. It just feels like it was too easy for me. I like to say more of a challenge, I guess.
I don't know that it was easy though. It was still two of them against.
Yeah, but Russell Crowe voluntarily went, and that's the thing. It's like if it wasn't voluntary, it's like if Christian Bale had to drag him along and still was able to fight off all these people, I thought it would have been more of an accomplishment.
But that wasn't in Christian Bale's character.
I get that, but that would have been a good time for him to stand up and say, "Yeah, I am a hero, and I'm going to do this thing, and I'm going to accomplish it." I don't know. I like the challenge aspect of it.
No, I agree with you. It probably would have been nice to see.
Yeah.
But I liked it the way it was. Truthfully, I did like Russell Crowe taking respect to Christian Bale's character because he understood his plight.
Yeah.
I did like it, and I think it made sense in Russell Crowe's character arc to take that respect to him. Especially since Russell Crowe was kind of drawn to Christian Bale's boy.
At the same time, not Christian Bale, but Russell Crowe knew he was going to get out of it anyway. He always escaped one prison, so it was like, he was like Rocket Raccoon from
Guardians of the Galaxy.
He's like, yeah, I've been out of prisons before, I'll escape before, I mean, I've done it before, no problem here. But now we get to the ending where they actually get to the train, and Russell Crowe was like, well, Christian Bale, you got me though. You won. You got it. You won, and you did this great thing. And he was celebrating. No, and for some reason, there was strange friendship grew out of it from Russell Crowe's character. Like he kind of saw him as not a friend, but like there was a connection there.
I think it was a friendship because Christian Bale, when they're in the hotel room, it was implied that Christian Bale had never really told anyone that before about retreating in the Civil War, about the way he really got his injury. Yeah. He probably had some story he made up and told everybody else.
Make it less embarrassing.
But he actually told Russell Crowe the truth.
Yeah.
So Russell Crowe, once he learned the truth, he gained that immense respect for him. Because it was told with the air that Russell Crowe was like the only person that knew this.
Yeah, yeah. And then you had, the entire time Ben Foster's character was chasing, and he had, like I said, had a high amount of respect for Russell Crowe, and he was like, he would follow him to hell and was willing to kill and pay $400 to get people to kill the marshals with. But then you had, at the end of the film, Christian Bale was standing outside of the train, Russell Crowe was inside the train in the prison, and then Ben Foster's character came up and shot Christian Bale's character. And of course, Russell Crowe was really upset, and as he was standing there, watching over Christian Bale's dying, he decided to take his gun and just decided to kill off his gang. And I'm not like 2 months later, and I was like, okay, that's an interesting twist. What did you think?
Actually, I enjoyed it because it kind of showed who Russell Crowe really was.
Yeah.
Ben Foster and the rest of his gang had this Ben Foster particularly had this immense loyalty to Russell Crowe. Because at the first of the film, Russell Crowe had said, if you get caught, that's on you. We're not going to chase you. We're not going to help you out. If you get sent to prison, goodbye. And then later in the film, one of the gang says, "Why should we go after Russell Crowe?" He said that to us. So obviously he doesn't really care about us. While Ben Foster kind of disobeys Russell Crowe's orders.
Well, maybe order more like I don't think it's an order.
More ideas.
The idea is like the philosophy.
The philosophy.
Yeah.
I think it still worked within his character because he looked at his gang as replaceable, disposable. He's this famous outlaw. Do you really think he will have an issue finding a gang again?
No, I mean, because of his chemistry, not chemistry, but his charisma. And
his charisma and his intelligence, because it was implied that he was always the mastermind of these missions. He's going to have no issue finding a gang again.
Yeah.
So Ben Foster's respect for him was very one-sided.
It was, and it was just misplaced too.
Yeah, it was very misplaced.
And I did like that moment where Russell Crowe was a really good gunman. It was very fast, very quick. And I like it when he stood there and he held his gun, and Ben Foster was turned behind, but he had the sixth sense, and he realized, oh, you're about to shoot me down. And I really did like that moment where you have one of the characters, because he knew Russell Crowe's character so well.
But you didn't like it as much as I did you? You didn't like that moment where he shot Ben Foster and everybody?
I was fine. I personally was fine with it. I understood the character. It was, like I said, it was a climax of the film. Russell Crowe voluntarily going to Yuma because I felt it was a bit easy and cheap. But I understand your argument.
Because even after that, you see him get on the train, see Christian Bale laying there, you see him call his horse, so it's implied about a mile down the road he probably just got hopped right back off the train onto his horse.
He did, yeah. But now, what did you think of the scene where the son stood over Christian Bale's body and watched him die? I mean, what did you think of that?
Watching this movie, I always knew Christian Bale was going to die, because that was kind of set up from the beginning, especially with his son coming on the mission. But it was very important for his son to see that. Because his son was drawn to Russell Crowe. He was He was drawn to the freedom he possessed. He was drawn to his charisma, drawn to the fact that Russell Crowe didn't have to worry about saving the farm or whether he was going to get that next meal.
Russell Crowe was everything that that the son wanted his dad to be.
Yeah. So it was necessary for him to see that, to see his father die a hero.
Yeah.
Where he would want to emulate his father more than emulate Russell Crowe.
Yeah, I do agree with that. It was very important for the story, and I did appreciate the film. I don't like the idea of Christian Bale dying because now his wife is a widow. His wife lost the man that she loved, and she had to set everything up and move on, growing with a family and growing and raising the children by herself for the moment in that story. But at the same time, I do appreciate the fact that a movie would go down that road. They would kill off they would kill off the hero in that way, and the villain would get away really winning. And I would say winning, but it's like he got away.
I don't know. He definitely won.
Yeah, the villain definitely won in that, and I do appreciate movies that were able to do that. And this movie is one of those rare movies that actually have the villains winning. But other than that, it's like, man, this movie was, did you like it overall?
I did like it overall. I'd probably say it's one of the best westerns since the year 2000. Of course, there's not a lot to choose from.
This is true.
Like, you've had the Magnificent Seven remake with Chris Pratt. You've had the True Grit remake with Jeff Bridges, which was pretty good. I'd probably say it's better than this. But even then, this is probably top 3, top 5 since the year 2000 in the western genre.
But at the same time, we talked about this movie to death, didn't we?
No, we have, and I'm excited to talk about next week with you. Actually, I know Joseph is probably even more excited.
I am, because...
Did you just squeal like a 12-year-old girl?
Yes, because I'm really excited about this film. And the reason why is because Gary Oldman is the star in this film. And my favorite actor is Gary Oldman. But the thing about Gary Oldman is that he's such a great actor, you forget he's in Pacific films. Like, for example, there's a film recently came out with him and Harrison Ford and one of the Hemsworth brothers in there. And I'm like, oh man, I want to see this film because I want, for the first time, I'm going to be able to see Harrison Ford, a good actor, versus Gary Oldman, another great actor. And I'm like, oh wait, that's right, that already happened in Air Force One. Gary Oldman was in Air Force One. I already saw that. Oh. So it's one of those moments where you just, Gary Oldman is such a great actor, he just disappears in the world.
We're going to be talking about the film Darkest Hour, where Gary Oldman is playing Winston Churchill. I haven't seen it yet, but my only concern for this film will be that it is Gary Oldman's performance, the movie. Yeah. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. We're both going to watch it this week, and next week you'll get to hear our thoughts.
Oh yeah, I'm really excited about it. But until then, I'm Joseph Collins.
And I'm Paul Combs.
And you've been listening to the CNC Geekcast.